Chapter 729. Click. Click. The sound of the camera shutter was like rain hitting on a banana leaf, and the flash was blinding. Outside the exit of the passenger passage, there were countless reporters with all kinds of cameras that made people dumbfounded. Lu Chen and Chen Fei, who were walking among the returning passengers, were recognized as soon as they appeared. If the airport had not arranged a large number of security personnel to maintain order at the scene, the reporters would have swarmed over. Even so, they tried their best to put the microphone in front of Lu Chen and Chen Fei. Mr. Lu Chen, can you talk about your trip to the United States? How does it feel to be an American hero? Can you say a few words? Miss Chen Fei, what do you think? Lu Chen, Jack Ross challenged you. Will you accept it? Yes, can you say a few words? Lu Chen had seen a lot of big scenes, but the scene in front of him still made his scalp tingle. If he had known this would happen, he would have taken the VIP passage. He did not expect these reporters to be so powerful. The information about his and Chen Fei's return flight was leaked. Not only did a large number of reporters come to the scene, but many fans came to pick them up. Under normal circumstances, Lu Chen would interact with these hardworking fans, sign autographs, take pictures with them, and so on. But today, he really could not. There were too many people and it was too chaotic. It had a big impact on the order of the airport. So he could only apologetically wave to the fans who held up the support signs. He did not answer any questions from the reporters. Under the escort of several airport security personnel, he met up with Zhang Xiaofang, the assistant who came to pick him up, and left. Sitting in the back seat of the Mercedes-Benz, Lu Chen was finally relieved when the car drove out of the parking lot. Chen Fei, wondered, I just heard someone say that Jack Ross challenged you. What's going on? She followed Lu Chen everywhere in the United States and never knew about this. Who was Jack Ross? But since the reporters asked, it was definitely not a trivial matter. Lu Chen shrugged. He was also baffled. Instead, Zhang Xiaofang, who was driving, said, Jack Ross is the AFS middleweight champion of the American Kickboxing Professional League. He has defended his golden belt 3 times. I've seen a lot of his competition videos. He's a very powerful person. Lu Chen frowned. I'm not playing AFS. Why is he challenging me? Zhang Xiaofang smiled and said, Boss, the Chinese Kung Fu that you filmed at Blue Sky Studio was uploaded online and caused a huge sensation in America. Then this golden belt came out to challenge you. So that's how it is. Lu Chen came to a sudden realization and laughed involuntarily. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have agreed to Christopher's request. When he left after inspecting Blue Sky Studio, Christopher had made a request to upload the video. At that time, Lu Chen did not care about it, and also because he had a good impression of the chief special effects artist, so he casually agreed. He did not expect to provoke a challenge from an AFS golden belt. Lu Chen was no stranger to AFS. He had also watched the broadcast of the American Kickboxing Professional League on television and was very impressed by several famous players in it. Strictly speaking, kickboxing and kung fu had a lot in common. The rules were not much different. Jack Ross's challenge was not without reason. If it was a boxing golden belt who challenged him, it would be ridiculous. Zhang Xiaofang continued, now that it has spread to China, it's very noisy on the internet. Your blog has been flooded, and you can't even pick up Boss Lu's phone. You're on the plane, so you don't know, Lu Chen nodded. He spent most of his time resting on the return flight and did not turn on his phone. Of course, he did not know about these things. Although the distance between China and the United States was only about 10 hours, it was enough for a lot of things to happen. Zhang Xiaofang sighed and said, Boss, I found that you're getting better and better. I've also seen the 2 videos on the internet. I'm afraid that even 2 of me combined would not be your match. Lu Chen smiled and said, Brother Zhang, you're too modest. Zhang Xiaofang was not an ordinary person. Although he was Lu Chen's assistant, he was actually a bodyguard. His skills were quite good. When he was free, Lu Chen had sparred with him several times. As they chatted and laughed, the car arrived at Zichang. Zhang Xiaofang helped to send the bags of luggage that the two had brought back from the United States to their home. This time abroad, Chen Fei bought a lot of things in New York, such as bags, perfume, clothes, and so on. It could be considered a big satisfaction of his shopping desire. There were also a lot of gifts for his family and friends. Before leaving, Zhang Xiaofang could not help but ask, "Boss, will you accept Jack Ross' challenge?" He was actually a fan of Jack Ross. Lu Chen laughed, shook his head, and sent Zhang Xiaofang out of the house. His current identity was a singer, an actor, a screenwriter, not an athlete. He did not need to be in the limelight. Therefore, challenges and duels were too boring. Finally, "I'm home," Chen Fei threw himself heavily on the soft sofa and said lazily, "Going abroad is so tiring." According to the habits of Chinese people, it was better to be at home than at home. Lu Chen felt the same way. Only when he was home could he really relax completely. Therefore, home was the harbor of the soul. He sat down on the sofa, stroked Chen Fei's hair and said, "Have a good rest. You have to shoot tomorrow. The shooting of You from the Star has been suspended because of the two of them." "Ah." Chen Fei grabbed a pillow and threw it on him. She said coquettishly, "You're so annoying. You just came back and you're talking about work. I don't want to shoot, I don't want to work, I don't want to do anything." Lu Chen laughed and said, well, you can do whatever you want. That's all right, right?" Although Chen Fei was older than him, sometimes she was very childish, and he had to coax her to make her happy. Perhaps the two of them lived like this. Occasionally quarreling was also very sweet. He reached out and held Chen Fei in his arms. The two of them quietly enjoyed their own warm time. But good times were always short-lived. The sound of the key opening the door interrupted Lu Chen and Chen Fei's tenderness. Lu Shi came. The two of them quickly sat up straight. Lu Shi had the key to the house. Since she could not get through to Lu Chen's phone, she came to the door in person. "You too, why didn't you call when you came back? Sister is here to denounce us." Chapter 730. Lu Shi came over with a big basket of food and vegetables, and she had a lot of things she wanted to say. "Don't be so impulsive next time. Think about your family. If something happens to you, what will happen to us and Fei? Don't think that you're strong now." What made his sister angry was still the UD 725 incident. Although it had been more than 10 days, she still had a lingering fear. She grabbed Lu Chen's ear and scolded him endlessly, as if she would scold him for 3 days and 3 nights. Lu Chen smiled bitterly and could only let her scold him without daring to refute. But he didn't feel the slightest dissatisfaction or disgust in his heart. Instead, he deeply felt the deep sibling love that Lu Shi had for him, so he didn't feel uncomfortable listening to her. Instead, he felt a strong sense of warmth. Chen Fei watched with a smile on the side, without the slightest intention of dissuading her. Moreover, when Lucy's mouth was dry, she tacitly gave her a glass of water. Lu Shi scolded Lu Chen for more than 10 minutes. At the end, her eyes were red, and she hugged Lu Chen. "Do you know how worried we were?" Lu Chen was speechless. After a while, he said, "Sister, I know. I won't let you worry about me anymore. This kind of thing happened by coincidence." Chen Fei said, "Yes, I don't know if he was lucky or unlucky, but he's really fine now." Lu Shi nodded. She reached out to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes and said, "Let's stop talking. I'll go cook for you." Chen Fei quickly got up and said, "Sister Lu Shi, I'll help you." The two went to the kitchen together. They had lunch at home. Although the dishes were not very sumptuous, Lu Shi's cooking skills were inherited by Fang Yun. With the love snacks made by Chen Fei, this lunch was undoubtedly delicious for Lu Chen. After dinner, Lu Shi left. Lu Chen and Chen Fei took their own showers. Chen Fei didn't sleep well on the plane, so he went to take a nap. Lu Chen was still in good spirits, so he ran to the study and turned on the computer. He hadn't been online for the past 2 days, so he didn't know much about the current trend of public opinion on the internet, so he had to pay attention to it. As soon as he logged into his blog account, Lu Chen was shocked. There were too many private messages and @s in the website, and the notifications from the system were terrifying. After spending a lot of effort, Lu Chen finally sorted out his thoughts. First of all, he finished watching the video that the fans had uploaded from Audiobook, which was the one that Christopher had personally made. It had caused a great sensation on both Audiobook and Wave's blogs. Watching the popular video with himself as the protagonist on the computer, Lu Chen felt that it was very interesting. Christopher's technology was very good, and he completed the CG in just a day or two. He couldn't help but like it. This also made Lu Chen firmly believe in the idea of cooperating with Blue Sky Studio. At present, for his big IP plan, special effects production was undoubtedly a weak link, because whether it was a martial arts movie, TV series, or games, it would inevitably involve a lot of CG special effects. Although DreamWorks Workshop had been established, it would take more time and more investment to really mature. Investing in Blue Sky Studio and pulling this first-class special effects team into the camp of Chen Fei Media would undoubtedly make up for the weakness in this area and help DreamWorks Workshop grow faster and better. Currently, Lu Chen's business assistant, Wang Yan, was negotiating with Blue Sky Studio in Los Angeles. With the help of Li Mushi, he believed that it was only a matter of time before they reached a cooperation agreement that both parties were satisfied with. After watching the video, Lu Chen turned his attention to Jack Ross again. To be honest, although he had watched the television broadcast of the American Kickboxing Professional League, he really didn't know much about the famous gold belt. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so ignorant when Chen Fei asked. The chat with Zhang Xiaofang in the car earlier also aroused a lot of Lu Chen's interest. There was a lot of information about Jack Ross on the internet. After reading several articles about him, Lu Chen knew that the defending AFS middleweight champion was a very impressive figure. His father, Ross Sr., was a kickboxing player, but because of his mediocre talent, he did not achieve any decent results in his career. Then, he pinned his hopes and dreams on his son. Jack Ross lived up to his father's expectations. He had shown outstanding talent in kickboxing since he was a child. He entered the professional arena at the age of 18 and had a 12-year history so far. He had won the middleweight gold belt 3 times in a row. His record was extremely impressive and he was one of the representative figures of AFS. Jack Ross also had a hobby, which was to challenge the top figures in other fighting events. He had fought with Taekwondo and Muay Thai masters and won all of them. It was precisely because of this that it was normal for him to challenge Lu Chen on Audiobook. It was not a deliberate hype or anything else. Jack Ross' motto was to constantly challenge himself and become the world's most powerful fighting master. On the Waves blog, Lu Chen's fans were clearly divided into 2 factions regarding Jack Ross' challenge. One faction supported Lu Chen's fight with Jack Ross. They believed that with the strength shown by Lu Chen, it would not be a problem to defeat the defending AFS middleweight champion. It would be best if he could snatch the opponent's gold belt. The other faction was far less optimistic. Jack Ross was a real professional player with 12 years of professional fighting experience. Although Lu Chen was very good, how could he compete with him? Most importantly, Lu Chen was a star. What was the point of competing with a professional player? As for snatching the gold belt, it was simply a joke. It was a complete layman's statement and not worth refuting. The 2 factions of fans were in full swing in the comments section of Lu Chen's blog. There was also a group of onlookers watching the show, making it a little messy. Seeing this situation, Lu Chen thought for a while and then wrote a new blog post. In this blog post, he first thanked his fans for their concern and said that he had just returned to China. He would soon be involved in the filming of You from the Star and try to catch up with the lagging progress. As for Jack Ross, Lu Chen admired his achievements in kickboxing. He was very honored by his challenge, but he would not consider it for the time being. Because the video Lu Chen shot at Blue Sky Studio was not to show off or anything else. It was to verify the key technology that would be applied to the martial arts movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, which would start shooting at the end of the year. As soon as his response blog post was posted, it immediately caused a wide response on the Waves blog. Thank you for your hard work. As the director, Fong Hui was, of course, the happiest. If all the actors and staff could keep working as they did today, her task would be much easier. During this time, Lu Chen had been in the limelight in the United States, but she was under pressure from 2 TV stations. They didn't dare to rush Lu Chen, so they could only find a balance from her. The main reason was that the star, was too popular. Its ratings were breaking records, and the advertising fees of the TV stations were rising. If it was suddenly interrupted, the loss would be too great. Fortunately, Lu Chen and Chen Fei came back together. Otherwise, Fong Hui would have wanted to use crooked ways to make up for the progress. I didn't expect you two to go to the United States, she said to the two of them with a smile. Not only did your acting not fall behind, but it also improved. Fong Hui was not deliberately flattering them. What she said was completely sincere. Lu Chen and Chen Fei's performance today was great. Lu Chen said with a smile, Sister Fong, it's been hard on you. Fei and I will treat you to dinner tonight. Fong Hui shook her head and said, it's not hard on me. Everyone has worked hard. Chen Fei interrupted, then we'll treat everyone to dinner. Let's go to Fengyuan Restaurant and have a good meal. Fengyuan Restaurant was a restaurant in Huairou Film and Television City. In addition to providing filming locations, it also received actors, stars, and foreign tourists who came to film. It was the highest grade in the film and television base. There were at least 100 staff members of the Star present today. Chen Fei's words easily spilled at least tens of thousands of yuan. Fong Hui said with a smile, since the two of you are treating together, then we won't stand on ceremony. Before she finished speaking, the crew members who had heard her cheered, and their morale soared. In fact, everyone could afford a few hundred yuan per person for a meal, but compared to some stingy stars, Lu Chen and Chen Fei were really generous. It was very comfortable to work for them. Brother Chen, at this time, an assistant rushed in and said to Lu Chen, 2 people from CCTV just came over. They said they have something very important to talk to you about. People from CCTV? Lu Chen and Chen Fei were stunned. If CCTV wanted to talk to Lu Chen, the normal channel would be to contact Chen Fei Media first and finalize the time and place of the meeting through Lu Chen's agent. Why would they suddenly come to the film set? Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, then invite them to Fengyuan Restaurant. In the private room of Fengyuan Restaurant, Lu Chen met the 2 people from CCTV. The man and woman were both in their 30s. After introducing each other, Lu Chen found out that the 2 were not real people from CCTV, but the assistants of the famous director Chen Guizhi. But they were not using the name of CCTV to fool people, because Chen Guizhi was the executive director of the 2018 Spring Festival Gala. The 2 of them served the Spring Festival Gala production team and were ordered to come and talk to Lu Chen. Chen Guizhi was a famous director in the country. This director, who was born in the 60s, had won the Berlin Golden Bear Award, and one of his works was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. He was also famous both at home and abroad because of his many realistic films. In recent years, Chen Guizhi had switched to commercial blockbusters and made 2 blockbusters with a box office of more than 1 billion. He had a very high status in the industry and was a real big shot. This time, CCTV specially invited Chen Guizhi to be the director of the 2018 Spring Festival Gala. It was also because the ratings and reputation of the Spring Festival Gala had been declining in the past few years. They hoped to use this great director to turn the tide. The 2 assistants sent by Chen Guizhi also looked for Chen Fei Media first before coming to the film set. After all, the 2 of them had different identities, so there was not much to pay attention to. As for the content of their discussion with Lu Chen, it was very simple. Chen Guizhi intended to invite Lu Chen to participate in the Year of the Dog Gala. Chapter 732. You've been in the limelight too much lately. Back at home in Zicheng Yuan, Chen Fei said to Lu Chen with a smile, "It's hard not to notice. It's reasonable that Chen Guizhi invited you to appear on Central TV's Spring Festival Gala, but it's rare to see him invite you to a show." Central TV's Spring Festival Gala had been held for more than 30 years. Watching the Spring Festival Gala on New Year's Eve had become one of the customs of the Chinese people. Especially for the middle-aged and elderly, not being able to watch the Spring Festival Gala on New Year's Eve was a great regret. Up until now, the Spring Festival Gala's viewership ratings had never been lower than 80%. Its influence was incomparable to that of any other program. More than 30 Spring Festival Galas had also made batch after batch of celebrities popular. It was precisely because of this that not many celebrities could resist the temptation of appearing on the Spring Festival Gala. Every year, when the Spring Festival Gala's program list was released, it meant that there was a lot of competition in the early stages. Many celebrities who were ambitious and qualified to get involved in the Spring Festival Gala would often rack their brains to think of ways to appear on the Spring Festival Gala. If they could have their own program, that would represent the greatest success. For Chen Feier, who had already appeared on the Spring Festival Gala twice, the temptation of the Spring Festival Gala was not that great. Moreover, it was very difficult to appear on the Spring Festival Gala 3 times. He had to give others a chance, right? Since Lu Chen's debut, he had never appeared on the Spring Festival Gala before. Although he had displayed a strong performance right from the start and had achieved great success in the music and showbiz circles, he lacked a strong background and did not put in a lot of effort into his public relations, so how could Central TV possibly take the initiative to approach him? But this year's situation is completely different. Lu Chen's popularity in China has been so high that it can't be ignored. As the most outstanding young singer in the Chinese music industry, and has repeatedly created miracles in movies and TV series, CCTV can no longer ignore him. That would mean offending tens of millions of Lu Chen's fans, a huge group of young viewers. Coupled with the recent series of events that happened to Lu Chen in the United States, Central Television made a decision. Of course, the stately Central TV had its own considerations, which was why Chen Guizhi's 2 assistants came to look for Lu Chen. Since they could represent Central TV to a certain extent, it could also be said that it was under Chen Guizhi's instructions. Furthermore, this was only the preliminary contact, so they could advance or retreat as they pleased. Chen Guizhi definitely has his own ideas, Chen Feier spoke with fervor and assurance. The viewership ratings of the Spring Festival Gala 2 years ago and last year almost hit the red line of 80%. Central TV is definitely hoping that director Chen can salvage the situation, so he will definitely have to make some changes to the traditional Spring Festival Gala programs. Otherwise, if it's still the same old programs, the audience won't buy it either. Lu Chen nodded. Chen Feier's analysis of Central TV, the Spring Festival Gala, and director Chen Guizhi was very accurate. In the early years, Central TV's Spring Festival Gala was the highlight of the general public's New Year's Eve. The viewership ratings were so high that it was envied by many, easily reaching above 95%. But in recent years, with the rapid rise of local satellite television stations and the diversification of entertainment methods, especially the prosperity of new online media, the Spring Festival Gala's viewership ratings have been declining year by year. In addition to the younger audience having more entertainment options, the most important reason was the Spring Festival Gala itself. It lacked good creativity and concept, and there were too many familiar faces coming and going. The quality of the language programs had seriously deteriorated, and the singing and dancing programs stuck to the old conventions, causing the audience to experience aesthetic fatigue. Under such circumstances, Central TV really had no choice but to invite a great director like Chen Guizhi. A few years ago, when the Spring Festival Gala was still being broadcast, there were already endless complaints and scoldings online, so it was very difficult for them to pretend that they did not see it. Even many media outlets joined in the ridicule, and Central TV's reputation was tarnished. This time, when Chen Guizhi's 2 assistants looked for Lu Chen, they had 2 main intentions. First, they wanted to invite Lu Chen to participate in the Year of the Dog Spring Festival Gala. As long as he agreed, his name would definitely be on the final program list. This was actually a very great honor. One had to know that many celebrities had been dying to get such an honor, but Lu Chen had easily obtained it. Moreover, it was the Spring Festival Gala's director who took the initiative to send people to him. The treatment was extraordinary. Chen Guiji's other intention was to hope that Lu Chen could come up with a plan for the Spring Festival Gala and provide good suggestions and ideas. This idea was not something he came up with on a whim. Not to mention Lu Chen's talent in the field of original music, his film and television scriptwriting ability was even more impressive. So far, one of Lu Chen's movies and 3 television series were all his own creations. Even the novels adapted from the television series sold very well. If Chen Guiji wanted to recover the declining viewership of the Spring Festival Gala, it was undoubtedly far from enough to rely on his own ideas. What he needed was to brainstorm, which was why he revealed his intentions to Lu Chen. In this regard, Lu Chen's reply to Chen Guiji's 2 assistants was that he needed to consider it carefully. Now, he wanted to hear Chen Fei's opinion. Chen Fei leaned comfortably in Lu Chen's arms and seriously gave him advice. First of all, we can't refuse the Spring Festival Gala, and there is no need to refuse. The key lies in the program. An exclusive singing program is necessary, and you need to strive for it. Group singing or continuous singing is meaningless, and it doesn't match your current popularity and status. In addition, it is important to build a good relationship with Chen Guiji. She turned to look at Lu Chen. Our company is going to shoot The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer at the end of the year, right? If we can invite Chen Guiji to be the director, that would be the best. Invite Chen Guiji to be the director of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer? Lu Chen's eyes lit up. This idea was undoubtedly very bold and courageous. There was no doubt that Chen Guiji was a good director, and he had international influence. In recent years, he had changed his direction to a blockbuster. If Chen Fei Media could reach an agreement with this famous director, the box office of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would undoubtedly be greatly boosted. But there was a problem. He is now the director of the Spring Festival Gala. I'm afraid he won't have time to direct The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer at the end of the year, right? Chen Fei smiled. If we can reach an agreement, what's the problem if we delay it until after the new year? We can totally release The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer in the summer of 2018. That's right. Lu Chen was completely convinced. He couldn't help kissing Chen Fei's face. I will listen to you, my wife. Don't be too optimistic. Chen Fei rolled her eyes at Lu Chen and said, it is not easy to invite Chen Guiji. You don't know how many people are waiting in front of his house with boxes full of money. You have to show your sincerity. For example, in this year's Spring Festival Gala, I see, Lu Chen couldn't help but fall into deep thought. He really had some ideas. Chapter 733. The official meeting between Lu Chen and Chen Guiji would take place 7 days later at a private clubhouse in Beijing. This clubhouse had a long history and had many members from the business and entertainment circles. It was considered one of the best in Beijing, where there were many crouching tigers and hidden dragons. The environment and privacy were excellent. In order to meet with Lu Chen, Chen Guiji had specially booked a private room, which fully showed the importance of this great director to Lu Chen. There were only 4 people from both sides meeting. Lu Chen brought Chen Fei, and Chen Guiji brought his assistant. Chen Guiji was in his 50s this year. He was very thin and short. He didn't have much flesh on his face, so his cheekbones were high, but his eyes were bright and full of expression. His appearance was very distinctive. After meeting and greeting each other, everyone sat down together. Chen Guiji said with a smile, Miss Chen Fei is getting more and more beautiful. It should be the magic of love. The great director actually made a joke with Chen Fei which immediately made the atmosphere in the private room relaxed. Chen Fei pursed her lips and smiled. Thank you for your compliment. You are also getting younger. She had worked with Chen Guiji before and had a cameo role in one of the latter's movies. But speaking of which, the 2 sides hadn't seen each other for several years. The entertainment circle wasn't big. Some people could bump into it every day, but it wasn't small either. It was bustling with people coming and going, and it had an iron camp and flowing soldiers. In response to Chen Fei's slightly teasing response, Director Chen stroked his sparse hair and said with a wry smile, I'm old. My romantic life will always be blown away by the wind and rain. Now it's the world of you young people. He looked at Lu Chen and said, Lu Chen, well, is it okay if I call you Xiao Lu? Lu Chen smiled and said, Director Chen, it's my honor. Lu Chen wasn't being polite. He also admired this great director very much. He was a true great senior. Chen Guizhi nodded and said, Xiao Lu, I know your time is precious, and I'm also very busy. Let's skip the pleasantries and get straight to the point. Lu Chen hurriedly straightened his back. Go ahead. Chen Guizhi said bluntly, I won't hide it from you. After taking on the Central TV Spring Festival Gala, I'm under a lot of pressure. I'm just afraid that the audience won't be satisfied with the final performance. The budget for next year's Spring Festival Gala is about 300 million renminbi. Although it can be earned back through the advertising bids, the people are not satisfied with it. They are cursing on Lunar New Year's Eve. Don't you think that 300 million renminbi is a waste? Do I have any responsibility as the director? Lu Chen listened quietly, feeling rather emotional. He didn't know much about the Spring Festival Gala, but he knew a little about it. The cost of Central TV's Spring Festival Gala was getting higher and higher, but the viewership ratings were dropping year by year. There were many voices of criticism on the internet, saying that hosting the Spring Festival Gala was a complete waste of the people's hard-earned money. Such a statement was, of course, too extreme. After all, the current Spring Festival Gala was largely run on a commercial model. It wasn't completed by the government's budget, and it had even achieved huge profits. But the big drop in the reputation of the Spring Festival Gala was an indisputable fact. The audience's aesthetic needs were constantly increasing, and Chen Guizhi, who had taken on this responsibility, naturally felt a lot of pressure. And he didn't hide this point at all. Currently, there are about 500 to 600 performances that have been submitted. I've seen more than half of them, but no more than 5 of them caught my eye. Actually, there was something else Chen Guizhi didn't say. That was, as the director of the Spring Festival Gala, he did not have full authority to choose the performances. This was because there were too many people eyeing this area, and it would affect the interests of all parties involved. Chen Guizhi's intention was to try his best to get as many high-quality performances on the Spring Festival Gala as possible within the scope of his authority, so that the ordinary audience would be satisfied and happy to watch it. However, it was really not easy to achieve this. Xiao Lu, Chen Guizhi said very sincerely to Lu Chen, I've heard a lot of your pop music works. In my opinion, you're currently the best singer and composer in the country, so I hope that you can specially write a song for the Spring Festival Gala. As for the form of the work, it's entirely up to you to decide. In fact, Chen Guizhi had already expressed his intentions to Lu Chen in advance through his assistant. Now that he said it again, it was undoubtedly to emphasize the importance and trust he placed on Lu Chen. It must be known that Lu Chen and Chen Guizhi did not know each other at all. The two of them had never had any contact with each other. This kind of importance and trust was very valuable, especially when it was placed on the big stage of Central TV's Spring Festival Gala that was watched by hundreds of millions of people. This made even Lu Chen feel the pressure. He and Chen Fei looked at each other, and the latter smiled and nodded. Lu Chen took a deep breath and said, Director Chen, thank you for your kindness. In fact, I also prepared 2 works for you this time. Please guide me. As soon as his voice fell, Chen Fei took out a professional portable music player with headphones and 2 bound music scores from his bag. They were placed in front of Chen Guizhi. Looking at the player and the music scores in front of him, Chen Guizhi was really surprised. He did not expect that Lu Chen would be so well prepared. He actually brought his works directly. And it was 2 works. After all, he was a young man. Apart from being surprised, Director Chen felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Because he felt that Lu Chen was probably famous at a young age. In addition, he had been in the limelight recently, so his performance was a little impetuous. This was a program that was going to be on the Spring Festival Gala, and he attached so much importance to it. Lu Chen actually used a week to write 2 works and put them in front of him. Even if he was a real genius, could he guarantee the quality that matched the Spring Festival Gala? Of course, on the surface, Chen Guizhi just showed an appropriate look of surprise, and then said with a smile, "Then I really want to listen carefully." He picked up the headphones and music scores, and asked his assistant to help him turn on the player. He began to listen to the works brought by Lu Chen on the spot. When he first listened to the first song, Chen Guizhi was very disapproving. But when he heard the first sentence of this song, his expression changed. He became dignified and serious, and there was a little surprise that couldn't be hidden. Then as he listened deeper, his surprise continued to expand, and he even closed his eyes. After the song finished, Chen Guizhi suddenly opened his eyes. He first pressed the pause button on the player, and then he couldn't wait to take off the headphones and ask Lu Chen, "This song, did you really write it specifically for the Spring Festival Gala?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "Yes, Director Chen. Both songs were specially written by him for the Spring Festival Gala." Just as Chen Fei said, since he wanted to do a favor, he had to do it properly. Moreover, he had not only prepared 2 music works. Chapter 734. Very good. For Lu Chen's first work, Chen Guizhi was not stingy with his praises. "It's very good." When he picked up the headphones, he did not have much expectation. He was even a little disgusted. But after listening to the song, the great director's attitude was completely different. He gave a heartfelt praise. Although Chen Guizhi was a film director, his appreciation of music was not low at all. In his films, he had always attached great importance to the soundtrack, so he could naturally judge the value of a song. Chen Guizhi's assistant, who was sitting at the side, was very surprised because Chen Guizhi rarely gave such high praise. Moreover, he was not very interested in the current younger generation of celebrity idols. It was already very rare to get a "not bad" evaluation from him. At Chen Guizhi's status and level, he did not need to flatter Lu Chen at all, even if the latter was the most popular star artist in the country. Therefore, his praise was full of gold. To put it bluntly, if these 2 sentences were spread out, it would be enough to be on the front page of the entertainment section of many media outlets. Lu Chen said modestly, "Thank you for your praise, Director Chen." Chen Fei secretly gave him a thumbs up. Chen Guizhi's praise for Lu Chen made her feel honored. Chen Guizhi waved his hand and said excitedly, "Let me listen to the second song." He put on the headphones again and pressed the play button on the music player. 5 minutes later. After listening to the second song, Chen Guizhi unexpectedly fell into silence. He seemed to be thinking about a very profound question and did not speak for a long time. Fortunately, everyone was patient enough and waited quietly. After a long time, the great director let out a long sigh and said, "I'm very conflicted right now." Lu Chen and Chen Fei couldn't help but look at each other. Chen Guizhi continued, "These 2 songs are really too good. I don't know which one to choose for the Spring Festival Gala. You should know that in principle, a star can only participate in one show on the Spring Festival Gala. As the world's highest-rated and most-watched large-scale variety show, there was no doubt about the influence of Central TV's Spring Festival Gala. In particular, it made program resources exceptionally precious. There were too many programs that wanted to be part of the Spring Festival Gala. The programs selected by a local government often had to go through many trials and pay a very high price to finally be able to make it onto the stage that everyone was watching. As for the influence of the Spring Festival Gala on the celebrities, it was needless to say. Therefore, the Spring Festival Gala had a tacit rule that a celebrity could only participate in one show. Otherwise, it would be too hateful. Now that Lu Chen had brought 2 songs, of course, he had to participate in his work, otherwise, it would be unreasonable. Chen Guizhi liked both songs very much. They couldn't possibly let Lu Chen go on 2 shows in a row, right? That would be breaking the rules. Although he held considerable authority as the executive director of the Spring Festival Gala, it was not a good precedent to set. That was why he felt conflicted. Understanding Chen Guizhi's thoughts, Lu Chen suddenly smiled. "Director Chen, you don't have to be conflicted. I just want to participate in the first song. As for the second song, I'm willing to give the copyright to Central TV's Spring Festival Gala for free. He only took 2 days to compose these 2 works and then recorded a demo in Chenfei Media's recording studio. Chen Guizhi had a copy of the demo in his hand. Lu Chen had discussed it with Chen Fei before, so he knew the rules of the Spring Festival Gala. Therefore, he had never thought that he would have to go on 2 shows. The second song was used as a favor. Whether it was given to Central TV or to Chen Guizhi, it was very worth it. The copyright to Central TV's Spring Festival Gala for free? Chen Guizhi's thoughts were immediately led astray. His eyes suddenly lit up and he clapped his hands. Not bad, the second song is actually more suitable for bel canto singing. It's very good as the finale. The way he looked at Lu Chen changed. Xiao Lu, you're really good. Chen Guizhi had seen many young celebrities, but it was really rare to see a young celebrity like Lu Chen who was talented and knew his limits. He was indescribably satisfied. He had really made the right decision this time. Chen Guizhi's assistant was taken aback. He wanted to complain, "Boss, is it really okay for you to praise me like this?" Chen Guizhi's appreciation for Lu Chen was completely shown on his face. Well, since the first song is a group singing, Director Chen pointed to Lu Chen and Chen Fei respectively. Then you two can do it together. Chen Guizhi's suggestion was completely unexpected by Lu Chen and Chen Fei. Chen Fei said with a wry smile, "Director Chen, I've been on the Spring Festival Gala twice." In the pop music world, although she was not the only female singer who had been on the Spring Festival Gala twice, there were really very few. As for those who had been on the Spring Festival Gala 3 times, there was no one. And non-pop singers had been on the Spring Festival Gala 10 times. They could be called the real evergreen of the Spring Festival Gala. For Chen Fei, the temptation of the Spring Festival Gala was not too great, but it was another matter to be with Lu Chen, so it was definitely a lie to say that she was not tempted. Chen Guizhi smiled and said, "What's wrong with being on the Spring Festival Gala twice? I remember that the last time you were on the Spring Festival Gala was 13 years ago. It's been 5 years. There's no problem at all." He took 2 of Lu Chen's songs and could only give Lu Chen a performance, so he had the idea of making up for it. It just so happened that Chen Fei was there, and the first song was a group singing, so he simply pushed the boat along with the current. Chen Fei thought for a moment and said decisively, "Thank you, Director Chen." Since Chen Guizhi had said so much, it would be too pretentious to refuse. Chen Guizhi laughed and said, "You're welcome. If you want to thank someone, you should thank your boyfriend." Chen Fei couldn't help but turn her head to look at Lu Chen. Her eyes were full of tenderness and sweetness. Lu Chen smiled and reached out to hold her little hand. After Chen Guizhi finished his big move, he had no intention of letting Lu Chen go. He asked, "Xiao Lu, do you have any good suggestions or ideas for the Spring Festival Gala of the Year of the Dog? Just let me know." He found Lu Chen pleasing to the eye and also had the idea of brainstorming. In fact, he had already gained a lot by receiving 2 excellent original works. Chen Guizhi asked casually, but to his surprise, Lu Chen actually had a trick up his sleeve. He asked Chen Fei to take out another piece of paper. "There's a song?" Chen Guizhi was really surprised. "No way." Lu Chen shook his head and said, "It's not a song. Director Chen, please take a look first." With a trace of confusion, Chen Guizhi took the piece of paper handed over by Chen Fei. He only took one look and his eyes were a little dazed. What Lu Chen took out again was really not a song score, but a skit script. Chapter 735. It was actually a skit script. Chen Guizhi held the thin manuscript in his hand and looked at the author's name under the title, completely speechless. Previously, when Lu Chen took out 2 original works, although he felt that Lu Chen was a little impetuous, he did not think it was unreasonable. After all, Lu Chen's talent in music was well known, and it was normal for him to release a song in a few days. But now, Lu Chen took out a skit script. Changing from pop music to skit, wasn't this a little too big of a leap? Chen Guizhi suddenly felt his throat itch and wanted to cough a few times to express his feelings at the moment. But because of the precedent, he forced himself to endure it and continued to watch seriously. This great director was even a little unconvinced in his heart. I know that Lu Chen is very capable. I'm convinced by your 2 works, but not everyone can create a skit, especially a skit on the Spring Festival Gala. It's too exaggerated to say that it's 1 in 1,000, it's not even 1 in 100. At domestic galas, language programs mainly referred to skits, crosstalk, etc. There were also recitations, allegro, 3.5 sentences, tongue twisters, speed recitals, burlesque, and other folk art programs. Musical poetry recitations were more common, and there were also some musical sitcoms. But on the stage of the Spring Festival Gala, when people talked about language programs, it was basically crosstalk and skit. Since the beginning of the CCTV Spring Festival Gala in the early 1980s, crosstalk and skit had always been the most popular programs loved by the general public. A group of excellent crosstalk and skit performers also emerged on the stage of the Spring Festival Gala, including many classic language programs, such as the crosstalk Sales, New Year's Eve, City God's Temple, skits, Go to the Market, Tomorrow Will Be Better, etc., were still often watched by people today. However, with the improvement of the aesthetic standards of hundreds of millions of viewers, the quality of crosstalk and skit was declining year by year. Coupled with some policy reasons and economic factors, the creators of language programs generally had problems such as a lack of creativity, rigid thinking, and so on. Many crosstalk and skit relied on online jokes to make up the number. The result was that the audience was not satisfied and the reviews were very bad, which in turn affected the ratings of the Spring Festival Gala. This vicious cycle was getting worse and worse. The program selection for the 2018 Spring Festival Gala had actually started this summer. But so far, Chen Guizhi had only selected 1 program for the language category. Furthermore, it was a traditional crosstalk. It wasn't that he was too picky, but that most of the crosstalk and skits that were submitted for approval had problems of one kind or another. It made Chen Guizhi pinch his nose and unable to pass it. After watching so many boring skits, it was normal for Chen Guizhi to lose hope in Lu Chen's script. However, he couldn't embarrass Lu Chen. After all, Lu Chen had just given him 2 excellent works. But the same situation happened again. After reading only 200 or 300 words, Chen Guizhi's eyes couldn't leave the script. He couldn't help but straighten his back, his left hand unconsciously rubbing the teacup. His eyebrows were tightly furrowed, and he looked extremely serious. But the next moment, great director Chen's tensed face suddenly bloomed into a smile from the bottom of his heart. He couldn't help but laugh out loud, almost knocking over the teacup in his hand. Director Chen, the assistant sitting next to him, was startled, thinking that something had happened. Chen Guizhi waved his hand to signal the other party to calm down. It's nothing. It's just that the jokes in this script are well written. He couldn't help but look up at Lu Chen, his eyes showing undisguised appreciation. He had still underestimated it. Great director Chen was quite emotional. He had seen so many skit scripts, and Lu Chen's script was definitely outstanding. If it didn't use any online jokes, it would be the most outstanding. First of all, the plot was not vulgar or kitsch, nor was it a high and mighty preaching example. The language was simple and vivid, but it was very interesting. Most importantly, it did not involve sensitive social or political topics. What was a good skit? This was the best skit. Would Lu Chen plagiarize? Chen Guizhi immediately rejected this idea. With the development of the internet and powerful search engines, plagiarists basically had nowhere to hide. It was too easy to be exposed. Of course, Lu Chen had the confidence to hand over the script to him so confidently. Instead of suspecting that he plagiarized online jokes, it was more reliable to suspect that he had a mastermind behind the scenes. Did Lu Chen need a mastermind? There was no need at all, because Lu Chen didn't need this kind of fame to support himself. He had become the most popular young artist in the country with his singing and acting. It didn't matter if he had more or less honor. The ways of the world were sinister and unpredictable. Chen Guizhi was not afraid to speculate on others with the worst of intentions, but the young man sitting in front of him was extraordinary. He was handsome, confident, sunny, and had a convincing temperament and charm. At this time, Chen Guizhi remembered that Lu Chen's movies and TV series were all written by him. There was no longer a trace of doubt in his heart. He lowered his head and continued to read the script in his hand. It took a full 15 minutes for Chen Guizhi to finish reading the entire script. During this time, he laughed a total of 5 times. Except for the first few minutes, he was smiling the whole time. This time, even his assistant was conquered by Lu Chen. Chapter 736. The suggestion of inviting Chen Guizhi to direct The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was first put forward by Chen Fei. First of all, Chen Guizhi had a great reputation in the domestic film industry. His movies were magnificent and they combined the essence of Chinese and Western culture. They had distinctive characteristics and were the real guarantee of the box office. Second of all, Chen Guizhi was strict and meticulous in shooting movies. He was bold and imaginative, especially the blockbuster, 3,000 Miles Through, which not only won the audience's praise, but also sold well in the box office. It was a classic work that won acclaim and box office. Therefore, if he were to direct The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, he would definitely be able to make Lu Chen's great wuxia IP into a cornerstone, which would lay a good foundation for future IP expansion. In addition, with Chen Guizhi's reputation, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer could also make a difference in the major domestic and foreign film festivals next year. Most importantly, through the cooperation with Chen Guizhi, Lu Chen's status in the film industry would be big. The male lead of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would definitely be Lu Chen himself. Although it was a good idea, it was not easy to invite this famous director. As long as he slightly revealed his intention, countless investors would come to him with boxes full of money. As for the movie scripts, he could have as many as he wanted. There was no need to worry about not having a good script. Lu Chen and Chen Fei didn't know Chen Guizhi well. If they wanted to impress him, they had to show enough sincerity and real talent. Chen Guizhi was obviously surprised by Lu Chen's request. He couldn't help but laugh. So that's what you are thinking? Well, I have read The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. It is a very interesting wuxia novel. Is there a chance? Lu Chen was pleasantly surprised. Director Chen, I know you're very busy with work and you definitely won't be free this year, so it doesn't matter if you shoot next year. I think you're the most suitable director for The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Don't flatter me, Chen Guizhi smiled. Tell me, how much are you going to spend? Lu Chen said without hesitation, starting from 100 million, no upper limit. It's up to you. Starting from 100 million, no upper limit. Chen Guizhi, who had been through a lot, couldn't help but twitch his eyes. You are so bold. If a young star came to him and said such a thing, Chen Guizhi would most likely scoff at it. The cost of making a movie could be a world of difference. A movie could be made with tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the same could be made with tens or billions of dollars. It would be nonsense if there was no upper limit. Although Lu Chen didn't say it with confidence, it was clear that he could make a movie with 100 million or more. Guizhi could make a movie with 100 million or more. Although it was not, it was very clear that he could make it. Chen thought and said, I will to say by Chen. Of Lu Chen, I Lu said. This Lu Chen, by Chen's Ling talking. And Chen. Chen was. By. But he couldn't agree immediately. He thought about it and said, I will give you an answer in a few days. Lu Chen understood that Chen Guizhi's words were basically half done. He couldn't help but smile. Thank you, Director Chen. I will wait for your good news. Chen Guizhi shook his head, raised the manuscript in his hand and said, I should thank you. 2 original music works and an original skit script really helped him a lot. At least in the spring of 18, when he was the chief director, he had at least a good show. Both sides were very satisfied with the result of this private meeting. Needless to say, Chen Guizhi's side was definitely full of gains. It could even be said that he got an unexpected surprise. On the other hand, although Lu Chen didn't get Chen Guizhi's promise, he had established a friendly relationship with this great director, which was beneficial to himself and the future development of Chen Fei Media. A just cause enjoys abundant support, and an unjust cause finds little support. This truth was applicable everywhere. In the afternoon, Lu Chen and Chen Fei returned to the company's headquarters. The follow-up filming of You from the Star was very heavy. It was not easy to squeeze out today, so they couldn't waste any time. Returning to Chen Fei Media, not only did he have to deal with a lot of company affairs, but Chen Fei also had to record an episode of You from the Star, which was completed in the recording studio at the headquarters. When the two arrived at the recording studio, all the staff were already in place. The shed, which had cost tens of millions of yuan to build, was waiting for the Queen to take the lead and make a sound at any time. Chen Fei hadn't released a new song for a long time. Many of her fans complained on the blog, saying that their idol had forgotten them now that she had a boyfriend, and that she was showing off her love all day long. It was a bit too much. It was because of these complaints that Lu Chen prepared a lot of episodes for You from the Star, including the theme song. He planned to release a special soundtrack album for Chen Fei after all the episodes were broadcast to appease the fans' complaints. This song was one of them. The score was written a few days ago, and he only had time to record it today. The filming of You from the Star was too busy, and Chen Fei did not participate in the recording of the two custom-made works for Chen Guoji for the Spring Festival Gala. It was only now that she had the chance to sing again. In the monitoring room separated from the recording studio by a thick glass, in addition to Lu Chen and the two sound engineers, Lu Shi and Tong Xiniao, who had just signed with Chen Fei Media not long ago, were also there. The 20-year-old girl who made a name for herself through China's Voice and was lucky enough to replace the winner of China's Voice, an Xian, and was signed by Lu Chen. She was currently undergoing strict training by the company. The scale and strength of the current Chen Fei Media was no longer comparable to the previous Lu Chen studio. They had hired many professional dance, music, musical instruments, body sculpting, and so on to be in charge of training the newcomers. One of the two dance teachers was even hired from Korea through SPG. Although Tong Xiniao was a pampered girl from a rich family, she was very hardworking when it came to training. In the past 2 months, she had improved greatly in all aspects, and her image and temperament were even more outstanding. The day of her official debut was not far away. Originally, she had a body sculpting class in the afternoon, but when she found out that Chen Fei was going to record a song, she specially asked for the teacher's permission to come and watch. That was because she was a loyal fan of Chen Fei. At that moment, Chen Fei came to the recording studio. When she stood in front of the microphone and put on the monitoring headphones, the heavenly queen who once dominated the music industry had returned. Chapter 737. Can't help but transform into a stubborn fish swimming alone against the ocean current. The vow I made when I was young, silently sinking into the deep sea. Revisiting it a few times, the end is still losing you. I was sentenced to a lifetime of loneliness by love, not fighting back, not letting go, endless circles drawn by the pen, the fate that can't be filled in the heart, it's you. In the recording studio, Chen Fei was singing with her eyes closed. In the monitoring room, Lu Chen was listening. This song, Silence, was an interlude song he wrote for You from the Star. It was inserted at the time when the female protagonist learned the truth and knew that the comet that reincarnated every 500 years was coming, and that the male protagonist would take a spaceship back to his home planet. The melody of Silence was simple and clean. Its biggest characteristic was that it was mellow and heartfelt. The low singing of the main song created a rich emotional characteristic, making people unconsciously fall into the sad and melancholy atmosphere created by the song. Fate and calamity were the theme of this song, and also the theme of Lu Chen's adapted version of You from the Star. Chen Fei was the female protagonist in the play, so it was perfect for her to sing. And now, with the help of Woman Flower, Chen Fei had completed the gorgeous transformation from the queen of sweet songs to the queen of love songs. Her singing style was more mature, and the emotions brewed in the filming of the drama could easily be integrated into the performance of Silence. In her rhythm and punctuation of the work, there was a kind of desolation and vastness of time, full of forbearance and insight. Then through the emotional rendering, a woman who had just found her true love was about to lose her lover's sadness, loneliness, and pain. Why love condemns all living beings to loneliness, can't break free, can't escape. Can't untie the knot between the eyebrows, can't untie the calamity in life, is you. Ah, lost you, ah, I lost you. Although it was only the first time singing, even the most picky listener couldn't find the flaws in the singer's emotional performance, and could directly ignore the possible problems in the technique and timbre. And the fact was that there was no problem. This could be seen from the expressions on the faces of everyone in the monitoring room. Some were solemn, some were deep in thought, some were full of admiration, and some had tears in their eyes. Everyone was deeply moved by Chen Feier's silence. Through the thick glass window, Lu Chen stared at Chen Feier, who was standing in front of the microphone. There was a strong emotion surging in his heart, and he couldn't wait to pour it out. After the song was finished, there was a moment of silence in the monitoring room. Then, someone clapped first. Although Chen Feier couldn't hear it, she could see it. In the recording studio, Chen Feier opened her eyes. She blinked and a tear rolled down from the corner of her eye. Lu Chen smiled and made an okay gesture at her. Chen Feier tilted her head and showed a bright and charming smile. Lu Chen couldn't help but feel relieved. Recently, Chen Feier had been rushing to shoot scenes. According to the director Fang Hui, she was quite immersed in the role, and today's recording of Silence was a great catharsis for her emotions. It was not easy to get into the role, and it was even more difficult to control it after getting into the role. Those who could do this were all real veteran actors. In the entertainment industry, there were many artists who were too immersed in the role, lost themselves because of a certain movie or TV series, and embarked on the road of no return. Chen Feier was not an actress with a professional background. Her acting career was actually very short, but she had already shown extraordinary talent in this regard, and her progress was even faster than Lu Chen's. And her recent state was a bit worrying, so Fang Hui secretly reminded Lu Chen in private. Originally, Lu Chen had considered recording this interlude in a few days, but he couldn't resist Chen Feier's insistence. Now her smile finally made Lu Chen feel relieved. It's done, Lu Chen said to the recorder, there's no need to sing it a second time. Ah. The sound recordist was stunned. Just this once? This recorder was called Zhao Bing, an industry elite who had just been poached by Chen Fei Media not long ago. He was much better than Wang Hui in both experience and level. Today, Chen Fei Media was also a well-known new brand in the circle. Although there was no special advertising, and there was not much free time in the recording studio, Wang Hui was too busy to handle it alone. He was the one who took the initiative to ask for help. Today, Chen Feier's new song was recorded by Zhao Bing. Zhao Bing had worked in several well-known domestic studios, but it was the first time that he encountered a professional singer recording a song only once, although Chen Feier's performance was perfect. When a record company recorded a song for a singer, it was not successful after one or two recordings. It often needed to be recorded many times, and after a certain effect was achieved, it had to be reorganized, such as modifying the treble, adding some musical elements, etc. The process was quite complicated. After a few more recordings, there would be more comparisons, and the best could be selected from them. Therefore, the situation of only recording once was really rare, and Zhao Bing's thinking was a little confused. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Once is enough, thank you." Of course, Lu Chen knew the procedures of recording a song, but he was worried about Chen Feier's mood, so he insisted. Zhao Bing quickly said, "It's not troublesome, it's too easy." Teacher Chen's level is really good. He came back to his senses and thought that Lu Chen's decision was really right. Chapter 738. KBS was the largest television station in South Korea and had the largest market share in South Korea. There were many countries in Southeast Asia that would broadcast KBS's programs. In terms of power, it far surpassed Chen Fei Media's partner, KGS, which was ranked last among the three major television stations in South Korea. It was precisely because of this that Lu Chen and Chen Fei were surprised. KBS and KGS had a strong competitive relationship. Why would they suddenly invite the two of them? KBS had once sought the broadcasting rights of You from the Star in South Korea, but was rejected by Chinfei Media and continued to cooperate with KGS. The reason was actually very simple. KGS was the most sincere partner, and the people of KBS always had a sense of arrogance, which made Lu Chen and Chinfei feel disgusted. The rejection last time was already a slap in the face. Could it be that KBS was satisfied with the slap and wanted to be abused again? She smiled and explained to the two's confusion. It's the request of KBS's major shareholder. This major shareholder that KBS couldn't compete with was the famous Dying Group in South Korea. South Korea was a country ruled by aristocrats, and the political and economic aspects were largely controlled by the 5 major financial groups. The government had always spared no effort to support the financial groups, which gave them a special status in South Korea. Among the 5 major financial groups, the most famous and powerful was undoubtedly the Samsung Group. Its business scope covered trade, electronics, shipbuilding, construction, petrochemical, sugar, textile, chemical fiber, paper, finance, service industry, and many other fields. It had a certain amount of influence in the world. Although the Dying Group wasn't as large as the Samsung Group, it had a longer history. So far, it had a total of 58 subsidiaries and more than 100,000 employees. It was very strong in finance, international trade, machinery, media, service industry, and so on. The Dying Group was the second largest shareholder of KBS and the third largest shareholder of KGS. The reason why KBS invited Lu Chen and Chinfei to the program was because KBS had a new celebrity show host, Song Jiajun, who was pursuing one of the heirs of the Dying Group, Lu Qingxian. She explained for several minutes before Lu Chen finally figured out the relationship. To put it simply, Lu Qingxian, who is the heir to the Dying Consortium, came forward to put pressure on KBS in order to pursue Song Jiajun and asked the latter to invite Lu Chen and Chinfei to participate in Song Jiajun's show. This program is called New Celebrity Show. The information she had obtained through SPG was very comprehensive. It's mainly about inviting popular stars in the entertainment industry to interact with the audience, chat, sing, play games, and so on. The format of the program is not very unique, and the ratings are not high. The average is only about 3%. With an average viewership rating of 3%, it would definitely be a popular trump card in China. But in Korea, especially in KBS, it was really a little bad. It was a fringe program that wasn't worth paying attention to. Chinfei furrowed his brows and said, boring. Just reject him, Lu Chen agreed. Let's just tell KBS that we can't make time. First of all, they really didn't have any free time. Actually, he didn't like the inside story behind KBS's invitation. So the two of them were Lu Qingxian's tools to chase girls? She frowned. If we offend the Dying Consortium. Alright, since you two have the same opinion, then I'll tell KBS that I can't make time. Offending the Dying Consortium, which had a say in the Korean media industry, was indeed not beneficial to Lu Chen and Chinfei's expansion in the Korean market. But so what? As long as they had a firm hold on the domestic market, there was no end to the money. The two of them didn't need to make things difficult for themselves. Lu Chen and Chinfei looked at each other and smiled. She rubbed her brows and said, then that's it. Lu Chen, don't forget to go to the fan meeting tonight early. Fei, let's have dinner together. Chinfei smiled and said, okay, after dinner, let's go to the Yen Sha area. Chanel just released a new product. The two women began to discuss heatedly. The style changed so quickly that Lu Chen could only sigh helplessly and leave alone with his tail between his legs. Today, his work schedule was full. In the morning, he met with Chen Guoji to discuss. In the afternoon, he recorded Chinfei's new song. In the evening, there was a fan meeting organized by Whale TV for Lu Chen. The theme of this fan meeting was called Memories of the First Touching. The location was the main venue of the Maile Cultural Center in Beijing. The starting time was 7 p.m. Whale TV had been preparing for this fan meeting for a long time. As a company headquartered in the deep sea, Whale TV specially rented an office in Beijing and sent elite personnel to make overall arrangements. The standard could be said to be extremely high. The reason why they didn't open it in the deep sea was entirely to make it convenient for Lu Chen. For today's Whale TV, Lu Chen was definitely a star sign that they couldn't lose. He was a spokesperson that they were willing to pay any price to keep. In the past few years after Lu Chen signed with Whale TV had a chance to take off again. Not only did it regain the market share that it had lost before, but it also created a new model of star live broadcasting, making a lot of money ahead of all its peers. As Lu Chen's influence in the entertainment circle grew, Whale TV had become one of the best live broadcasting platforms in the industry. In turn, it attracted more and more excellent anchors to join, forming a virtuous cycle. In fact, by now, Whale TV had little effect on Lu Chen. The time that he personally participated in the live broadcast was also very little. Most of the time, it was live broadcast arranged by the company. Leaving Whale TV wouldn't be much of a loss for him. Moreover, there were other live broadcasting platforms that offered a higher price tag, and even used shares to invite him to jump ship. However, Lu Chen declined those invitations and chose to renew his contract with Whale TV, because he didn't forget his original promise to his fans. That's why there was this memory of the first touched fan meeting. When Lu Chen arrived at Milake Cultural Center, people from Whale TV were already waiting there. Manager Wu, Miss Wu, Lu Chen got out of the car and saw two acquaintances first. He smiled and greeted, "Long time no see. It's really been a long time." Wu Hongming, who was now the deputy general manager of Whale TV, and Wu Shanshan, who had just been promoted, were the two representatives that Whale TV had sent to Beijing to sign the first contract with Lu Chen. It was also Wu Shanshan who dug out Lu Chen from many anchors and gave him a pretty good contract. Only the light sticks and placards were still waving, and the colorful light reflected the excited faces. Whale TV's arrangement of the stage was very interesting. They placed a dark blue computer table in the center, on which there were computers, microphones, high-definition cameras, and a full set of live broadcast equipment. Of course, there was also a custom-made host chair. These devices are not decorations. They are all turned on and are broadcasting live to the entire platform. Whale TV has specially launched a new channel for this meet and greet. Hundreds of millions of viewers on the platform can watch the live video in real time, and they can also send messages and gifts. When Lu Chen appeared, in the live broadcast room of the fan meeting channel, the number of online viewers had exceeded the 5 million mark, and it was rising at an alarming rate, creating new records one after another. As for the reward gifts such as fish balls, it could no longer be described as raindrops. The speed of the system prompt was so fast that people couldn't even see it. A group of aircraft carriers passed through the screen. Ha ha ha, it's starting. Finally, I didn't miss it. I'm so happy. I envy those guys who can go to the scene. I want to go too. The people of Shanghai send a congratulatory message, wishing Lu Chen's fan meeting a complete success. The people of Beijing send a congratulatory message. The people of Deep Sea, interestingly, many Whale TV anchors stopped playing and ran directly here to watch the excitement, so that the attention of the entire platform was focused on Lu Chen alone. Only Lu Chen has such popularity and attraction. Without the host on the scene, all the light was focused on him. Lu Chen sat down in a chair. He turned his body sideways to the audience and said, "I'm very happy to meet everyone here tonight. Thank you, Whale TV, for holding this meet and greet for me and everyone. 3 years ago, like many people here, I was an ordinary member of society. At that time, I hadn't officially graduated from college, and I was working hard to make a living." Lu Chen's opening remarks were very simple and straightforward. He didn't deliberately sensationalize the atmosphere. He told his life experience to the 500 audience present, as well as the millions of fans on Whale TV. Recalling the initial touching, after 3 years, Lu Chen really had too many emotions in his heart when he recalled that period of time. Life was so wonderful. A long dream had led him on a completely different path. Sometimes, he even wondered if he was still in the dream and hadn't woken up, because everything he had now was more or less a little too unreal. He didn't say too much. Memories don't only need to be expressed with words, but also with music and singing. Picking up the rosewood guitar next to the computer desk, Lu Chen held it in his arms and said with a smile, "I believe everyone recognizes this guitar. It's my most cherished instrument, because it was a birthday gift from my sister, Lu Shui. Tonight, I will still play all my songs with it, including the first song below, a song that everyone is familiar with." As his voice fell, Lu Chen plucked the strings and played the prelude. Then his clear, clean, and slightly sad singing voice sounded, flowing into everyone's ears like running water. "Tomorrow, I will go far away and embark on a journey that will never return. Do you still remember the blue crystal I gave you? Your real name is engraved on it, Blue Crystal." Someone shouted the name of the song. This song, Blue Crystal, was a popular classic. The lyrics were catchy, and with a beautiful melody, it has always been in the forefront in the KTV box. It was not Lu Chen's original work, but it was the first song that Lu Chen sang on the live broadcast platform. Although the platform he first sang on at that time was not Whale TV, many veteran fans present began to know Lu Chen from this song. Chapter 740. In the main venue of the Meilei Art Center, at the fan meeting scene of Memories of the Initial Touching, when Lu Chen played and sang the song, Blue Crystal, that everyone was familiar with, Tao Su was sitting in the middle of the second row. His face couldn't help but show a smile, and his eyes were filled with a look of reminiscence. When Tao Su first heard Lu Chen sing this song, he was still studying at New York University in the United States. Now he has been working in a domestic portal for 2 years. The life of studying abroad was hard and boring. Tao Su spent his lonely time on the internet, so he also came into contact with the rising online live broadcast in China. At that time, Tao Su was a silver level 4 member in the Starlight show with the ID New Yorker. It was completely by chance that he clicked into a less popular live broadcast room and met Lu Chen. It was this song, Blue Crystal, that made Tao Su become a fan of Lu Chen, and he was the first person to donate. Later, he followed Lu Chen to Whale TV, until now. This time, Whale TV held Memories of the First Touching, Lu Chen's fan meeting, and Tao Su was the first person to be invited. When he heard this song again, his heart was full of emotion and memories. The time when he was alone in a foreign land seemed to reappear in front of him. La la, la la la. When Lu Chen hummed the last lyric under the accompaniment of the guitar, Tao Su was the first to stand up from his seat and applaud vigorously. Under his leadership, the audience stood up in unison, and the applause, cheers, and shouts set off a new wave of climaxes, making the atmosphere in the venue reach its peak again. Lu Chen also got up and bowed to all the audience with his guitar in his arms to express his gratitude. When he sat down again, the atmosphere at the scene finally returned to calm. "Thank you everyone," Lu Chen said with a sigh. "Here, I first want to thank a friend. I don't know what his real name is, but I remember his ID very clearly, called New Yorker, because he was the first person to donate in my first live broadcast." The New Yorker. When Tao Su heard his online ID come out from Lu Chen's mouth, his face instantly flushed red, and his breathing became heavy. His ears buzzed, and he felt a surge of hot blood rushing to his head. He had never imagined that Lu Chen would actually remember him. Actually, among Lu Chen's fans, based on the number of gifts, Tao Su was probably not even in the top 1,000. There were too many rich people, but the first fan Lu Chen thanked was him. Lu Chen continued, "I don't know if my New Yorker friend is here. If he is, could you please ask him to stand up and let me meet him?" The audience could not help but look at each other. Many of them looked left and right to find the person who had received Lu Chen's special thanks, the New Yorker. Under everyone's expectations, Tao Su stood up shakily as if he was drunk. The next moment, a beam of spotlight accurately shone on him, and the cameras arranged at the scene simultaneously locked on this special fan, and then the scene was transmitted to the internet in real time, witnessed by nearly 10 million platform viewers. Tao Su's heart was trembling. Lu Chen put down the guitar in his hand, walked down from the stage, and extended his hand to him. "Thank you for your support, and it's nice to meet you." Tao Su was already dizzy, and he shook hands with Lu Chen in a daze. The surrounding fans looked at Tao Su with envy, jealous that he had such a special treatment. Tao Su did not know what he said, and when he sat down again, he was in a daze for a long time. Lu Chen had returned to the stage. "The second song I will sing, I believe everyone must be very familiar with it. It is also my first original work, You Who Sat Next to Me." Before Lu Chen said the name of the work, the fans at the scene had already shouted it for him. "You Who Sat Next to Me." In the live broadcast room of Whale TV, the number of online viewers finally broke through the 10 million mark, creating a new record since the start of the platform. Countless barrage comments were flooding the screen. "This is my favorite song. It feels like a long time has passed, I really miss it. I sang it in KTV a few days ago, and then I confessed to the goddess I secretly loved, this song, I won't get tired of listening to it 10,000 times. I can play it." On the stage, Lu Chen's eyes swept across the computer screen, and he said with a smile, "Yes, it is this song, You Who Sat Next to Me, so I hope to sing it with everyone. What do you say?" Thousands of good words instantly appeared on the screen. Lu Chen smiled. He bowed his head and strummed the strings. The sound of the guitar was like the gurgling of water, gently rippling in the venue. "Tomorrow will you remember, the diary you wrote yesterday, tomorrow will you still remember, once, the teachers can't remember, you can't guess the problem, I also accidentally flipped through the photos, this song, You Who Sat Next to Me, like all those classic works, has become the most profound imprint on Lu Chen. When people mention his name, the first thing they think of is this song. Time flies, You Who Sat Next to Me has not been forgotten with the passage of time, but more and more exudes a warm and charming flavor, making people recall it for a long time. It has also become one of the most commonly covered songs in countless school cultural performances or evening performances. It's just that as Lu Chen created new songs one after another, the number of times he sang, You Who Sat Next to Me, became less and less. Similarly, it was difficult for people to see him personally hosting the live broadcast. Only tonight, Lu Chen once again sat in front of the microphone and camera, facing the computer, and singing this song, You Who Sat Next to Me, in front of thousands of fans who like him. Let everyone reminisce about the past, those first touching moments. Who met the sentimental you? Who comforted the crying you? Who read the letter I wrote to you? The fans at the scene, including many fans sitting in front of the computer or holding the mobile phone to watch the live broadcast, sang this song with Lu Chen. Many people's eyes were red and tears flowed down. They were not only singing You Who Sat Next to Me, but also the lost years of youth. There were no dazzling and blurred lighting effects, no wonderful and rich band accompaniment, and even the big LED screen no longer displayed any pictures. There was only a beam of light shining on Lu Chen, who was playing and singing. There was also the chorus of singing that converged together. Even after many, many years, many people present still firmly remember the scene at this moment. People and songs are still imprinted in the depths of their souls, becoming an indelible memory. Chapter 741. Whale TV, Memories of the First Touching. Lu Chen's fan meeting started at 7 p.m. and came to an end at 9:35 p.m. In these 2.5 hours, Lu Chen, with a guitar, brought the 500 audience at the scene and tens of millions of fans in the Whale TV live broadcast room to relive the good memories of the past. Your deskmate, the brother who slept on my upper bunk, Love in the Wind, Cinderella, Those Flowers, The Brightest Star in the Night Sky, Long Time No See, The Story of Time, the works that fans were familiar with, folk songs and love songs, made this fan meet and greet shrouded in an atmosphere of nostalgia and passion. It also made countless fans laugh and feel touched. Lu Chen hasn't sung like this for a long time. Although there are interactive programs with fans between the singing, his voice is a little hoarse after so much singing. The fans are simply distressed, and a lot of barrage expressing concern appeared in the live broadcast room. It's already 15 songs. Lu Chen's big voice is almost hoarse. Don't sing anymore. Talk more. Well, playing games is okay. We all support it. Yes, don't sing anymore. It's most important to protect your vocal cords. Damn, are all those people at the scene pigs? Why are they still cheering? Don't they know how to care about my chin? I feel sorry for my chin. Generally speaking, when a professional singer holds a solo concert, the songs they sing are around 20, and up to 25. In contrast, Lu Chen singing 15 songs is not much. But for this level of fan meeting, 15 songs is really a lot. And if it's a concert, professional singers will take care of their voices in advance, and then make careful arrangements for the program, as well as backstage tuning, etc., to reduce pressure as much as possible. And Lu Chen played and sang by himself. Every song was of the standard that it should be. It took a lot of effort, and the effort he put in was no less than that of a concert. Up to now, his forehead has been dripping with sweat. Fans are tolerant, sensitive, and harsh. They can tolerate the mistakes made by their idol accidentally, but they are exceptionally sensitive to whether their favorite singer is singing seriously or not. Lu Chen's performance was impeccable. The cries from the internet quickly affected the scene. The cheers and shouts decreased a lot. Everyone even started to quiet down. Lu Chen saw the bullet screen full of comments and felt the atmosphere of the scene. He smiled and said, "Well, I just saw a fan say that she wanted to take a taxi to give me some throat-soothing tea. I'll thank this friend here first. You really don't have to go through so much trouble. I'll sing one more song, the last one. Sing a new song, this song is for everyone. Let's reminisce about the first moments when we were touched, as well as the fading years of youth." As soon as Lu Chen's voice fell, the audience immediately burst into a thunderous applause, like a storm. Lu Chen lowered his head with a smile and plucked the strings again. Flowers drifting with snow in the wind, it sprouted in his memory. Those red and green colors are our youth. His ambition was boundless. In the blink of an eye, they had gone their separate ways. Walking alone on the street, he only saw the sunset glow of the past. The name of this song was "The Passing Years," which was specially written by Lu Chen for this fan meeting. The simple guitar accompaniment was still the nostalgic folk song style that all fans were most familiar with. With the sadness and remembrance of the lost youth, the melody entangled the hearts of the listeners like silk threads. Since "You Who Sat Next to Me," Lu Chen created the campus folk song style and also brought the waves of nostalgic folk songs. Thus, he left his indelible mark in the Chinese pop music world. Many singers and songwriters imitated his style and created a lot of good folk songs. But in the hearts of fans, no one could replace Lu Chen, nor could they imitate the essence of his works. Perhaps now, the number of Lu Chen's fans and passers-by has exceeded his fans big, but his fans have always been his most loyal supporters and have never wavered. Tonight's special fan meeting was very satisfying for Lu Chen's fans, because they followed Lu Chen to review the classics, especially those folk songs. The only regret was that they didn't hear Lu Chen's new song. Unexpectedly, in the end, Lu Chen still made up for this regret and dedicated a new work to everyone. Time is like flowing water, urging us to grow up. Young hearts have white hair. The people of the past, where are you now? Are you also looking for the home of your dreams? The Passing Years didn't make any breakthrough in melody style, but for fans, this song was more like a summary of all the previous works, once again washing their hearts. In the main hall of the Meilu Art Center, it was extremely quiet, and everyone listened quietly. In the Whale TV live broadcast room, the barrage became very sparse, and even those local tyrants who were frantically giving gifts let go of the mouse in their hands and listened to the music that moved them. Recalling the initial touching. After the end of the fan meeting, Whale TV announced the data of the live broadcast on its homepage. The highest number of people online in the live broadcast room was 13750,748, breaking the record of all live broadcast platforms and creating an unprecedented miracle. In addition, in less than 3 hours, the amount of gifts converted total to 278.93, 527 yuan and 3 cents, which was another terrible record. Among them, the number one fan gave a gift worth 1,880,000 yuan. This inevitably caused a sensation and a wave of public opinion. Whale TV officials and Lu Chen had already issued a public statement long before the fan meeting was held that all the gifts would be donated to the Chen Fei Charity Fund to help sick children who couldn't get timely treatment because of poverty. Because it was a full donation, Whale TV not only bore the expenses of the event, but also paid a high operating fee. In terms of direct benefits alone, they lost millions. Of course, what Whale TV has gained are invisible benefits and long-term potential influence. But no matter what, although the amount of gifts in the live broadcast was very astonishing, the media's reaction was not strange or sour, but more of amazement and praise. As for Lu Chen's fans, it was even more favorable. There were many stars in the entertainment industry, but people like Lu Chen who invested money earned again and again into charity, really not much. He never let his fans down, nor did he fail to live up to everyone's expectations. Note, lyrics/composer of The Passing Years, Xia Xiaohu. Chapter 742. Autumn passed and winter came. In the blink of an eye, it was already early winter, and people living in Beijing began to feel the chill of winter. Entering late November, the shooting of You from the Star was nearing the end. After returning from the United States, Lu Chen and Chen Fei devoted most of their time to the shooting of this TV series. Coupled with the tacit cooperation of the crew, everyone worked together, and the later it got smoother and smoother, so it was basically finished by the end of the month. The average audience rating of You from the Star, which was broadcast simultaneously on Beijing television and Zhejiang satellite TV, has been maintained between 7% and 8%, and the highest audience rating once exceeded 10%, becoming a phenomenal show among phenomenal shows. If you randomly search You from the Star on the internet, you can find at least hundreds of millions of related information. The number of fans in the official Tieba exceeded 10 million. The main actors in the play, apart from the two protagonists, became very popular. For example, Tong Xinyao, who signed with Chen Fei Media not long ago, played a supporting female role in the play, and her popularity has been close to that of the popular newcomers, which also made her new album, which was to be released at the end of the year, become popular. You from the Star has set a new high in the ratings in South Korea, breaking through the highest ratings boundary of national drama and becoming the first imported drama to reach 50% in South Korea. Similarly, the two South Korean actors in the play have become South Korean A-list artists in one fell swoop, which can be described as soaring. In addition, major TV stations in many countries, including Japan, have been interested in introducing You from the Star, which has also gradually expanded the influence of You from the Star in Southeast Asia. For Lu Chen, there are still many major events that happened in November. First of all, the online crowdfunding has passed the review of the relevant agencies in the United States, and reached an issuance agreement with two bank securities companies, which will be officially listed on NASDAQ on December 1st. In fact, after a CISA negotiation, Chen Fei Media and Blue Sky Digital also reached a cooperation agreement. Chen Fei Media acquired 75% of Blue Sky Digital Studios shares for $55 million, becoming the latter's second largest shareholder. After Chen Fei Media invested in Blue Sky Digital, the two sides will carry out all-round cooperation in film and television special effects, and the last shortcoming of Chen Fei Media in the field of film and television production will be made up. Finally, both Lu Chen and Chen Fei would attend the 50th anniversary celebration party that would be held at the Xiangjiang Century Square on November 29. On November 29, 1967, Hong Kong, which had been forcibly occupied by the United Kingdom for 100 years, returned to the motherland smoothly. In the past 50 years, Hong Kong, as a special administrative region of China, had undergone profound changes in politics, economy, and culture. It was thriving and prosperous, and had become a first-class international metropolis in Asia. As it was the 50th anniversary of returning to China, the Hong Kong government held a series of celebration activities, which had started in October, and this celebration party was undoubtedly the most important one. In addition to Hong Kong stars, Many singers and actors from the mainland were also invited to the gala, including Lu Chen, Chen Feier, Liao Jia, and so on. On November 25, Lu Chen and Chen Feier flew to Hong Kong. The two of them came over quietly, so they didn't alert the well-connected media. It was Shi Fang who came to the airport to pick them up. Sister Fang. When he saw Shi Fang again, Chen Feier hugged her tightly. The experience of working together on The Voice of China had established an excellent friendship between them, and they were as passionate as sisters who had reunited after a long separation. Shi Fang was very low-key. She only brought an assistant to pick them up, and then they went to her house in Banshan. Shi Fang's Banshan villa was very famous in Hong Kong. Its original owner was Su Jinyang, a famous real estate tycoon in Hong Kong. He spent hundreds of millions of Hong Kong dollars to build it in the early 1990s. However, the international financial crisis in the late 1990s caused the stock market and property market of Hong Kong to plummet. Su Jinyang's real estate company had a cash flow problem, so he had no choice but to sell the villa for 150 million. In the end, when no one wanted to buy it, Shi Fang brazenly took out all her savings and borrowed from a friend, and bought it for 130 million. At that time, many people thought that Shi Fang was simply crazy, but reality proved that she had foresight. This Banshan villa was worth at least 1 billion, and it was a real estate that could be passed down for generations. There was once a Xiangjiang tycoon who offered 1 billion to buy this villa from Shi Fang, but was rejected by her. Lu Chen had also heard of this villa for a long time, and today was a real eye-opener. This villa was an independent 3-story building with an area of more than 1,000 square meters, and it had a large garden of more than 2,000 square meters, woods, grass, swimming pool, fountain, and so on. It also had a panoramic view of Victoria Harbour. Shi Fang was still unmarried, so this villa was completely owned by her. She often held parties here, and the guests were all Xiangjiang celebrities or big shots in the circle. Chen Feier fell in love with it at first sight. She sat on a comfortable chair, bathed in the warm but not scorching sunlight, tasted the freshly brewed Indian black tea, and looked down at the magnificent scenery of Victoria in the distance. The tiredness of the long-distance flight was swept away. She let out a long sigh of satisfaction, narrowed her eyes and said to Shi Fang, "Sister Fang, this house of yours is really too good. I want to stay here and not leave." Shi Fang chuckled and said, "You can stay as long as you want. Anyway, I have a lot of rooms here." Those who were familiar with Shi Fang knew that there were many people who could enter and leave her villa, but there were absolutely few who could live in it for a long time. All of them were the real friends of the Queen of Xiangjiang. Chen Feier glared at Lu Chen bitterly and said, "It's a pity that I can only stay in Xiangjiang for a few days. After the TV series, I have to shoot a movie. I'm busy all day." Lu Chen smiled bitterly and rubbed his nose, speechless. After shooting Xingyu, Chenfei Media would immediately start shooting The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. They definitely couldn't make it in time for the spring festival, but they couldn't miss the summer vacation. Time was also quite tight. And for this martial arts movie, in order to ensure the box office results in effect, Lu Chen would play Ling Huchong, and Chen Feier would play Ren Yingying, and they were going to shoot 2 movies in a row, so everyone was busy. Shi Fang smiled and said, "You are still young. Of course, you should focus on your career. You can ask Lu Chen to buy a house here for you. How nice it is for us to be neighbors." "Yes." Chen Feier's eyes suddenly lit up. "That's a good idea, but there are no villas for sale here, right? There would basically be no new mansions in the middle of the mountain. If they wanted to buy one, they could only take it from others. There were basically no villas for sale on the market, and they couldn't be bought easily with money." Shi Fang said, "I can help you keep an eye out." As the two chatted, they began to talk about the house, leaving the business at the back of their heads. Fortunately, another important guest rushed over. The guest was also one of Lu Chen's few friends in the circle in Xiangjiang, Lu Gangsheng. Chapter 743. Brother Sheng. Seeing Lu Gangsheng, Lu Chen and Chen Fei, stood up and greeted him together. Lu Gangxing laughed and opened his arms to give Lu Chen a strong hug. Long time no see. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. The last time they met was at the Hong Kong premiere of A Chinese Ghost Story, but they had been in touch with each other and their friendship was even deeper. Lu Gangxing's appreciation for Lu Chen was really known by everyone in Hong Kong. Not long ago, Lu Chen had an accident in the United States. Lu Gangxing called him as soon as he knew the news and asked his friend in the United States to take care of him. Although he didn't help much in the end, Lu Chen remembered this favor. Lu Gangxing didn't come alone today. There was a gentle and beautiful woman beside him. This is my wife, Lu Jingyi. Lu Gangxing took the initiative to introduce to Lu Chen and Chen Fei. She heard that you two are here. She also wants to meet the male and female leads of Autumn in My Heart. Lu Chen was a little surprised and quickly said politely, "Hello, sister-in-law. It's the first time we meet. Please take care of me." Lu Gangxing's wife was a legendary figure in the circle. Lu Chen knew her, but it was the first time he saw her in person. Lu Jingyi was the runner-up of Miss Hong Kong in 1995. Her father was a lawyer in Xiangjiang and her mother was a doctor. Her family conditions were excellent, but she chose to enter the entertainment industry after graduating from college. After winning the runner-up of Miss Hong Kong, she quickly signed a contract with a management company and released her first solo album. Then she shot many movies and TV series in succession. Her career as a star could be said to be smooth. However, just as she became popular, she suddenly quit the entertainment industry and disappeared from the sight of her fans. There was very little news about her in the media. In fact, the reason why this beautiful and intelligent Miss Hong Kong quit the entertainment industry was that she met and fell in love with Lu Gangxing during a cooperation, and resolutely retired behind the scenes. Due to some special reasons, Lu Gangxing had never officially announced Lu Jingyi's identity. However, the two of them had been together for 20 years. Lu Jingyi supported Lu Gangxing wholeheartedly, and the latter gave his wife the greatest protection. Now that Lu Gangxing was getting older, he was also slowly revealing his family situation to the public. Everyone believed that this imitating couple in the entertainment industry would eventually stand in front of everyone openly. Lu Chen had read stories about Lu Jingyi on the internet. He knew that she had raised a son and a daughter for Lu Gangxing. Although she was unknown, she was willing to endure hardship. She was truly an admirable woman. "Hello, Lu Chen, nice to meet you. You're even more handsome than on TV." Lu Jingyi smiled. Lu Gangxing was jealous. "He's not as handsome as me." Everyone couldn't help but laugh, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. After laughing, Lu Jingyi's gaze fell on Chen Fei. She held Chen Fei's hand and exclaimed, "Miss Chen is really beautiful. Well, you're even more beautiful in real life than on TV." Chen Fei smiled and said, "Sister Jingyi, you flatter me. I think you're really beautiful." Lu Jingyi shook her head. "I'm old." Although they were more than 10 years apart and it was the first time they met, Lu Jingyi and Chen Fei felt like old friends at first sight. After sitting down, they chatted intimately. Together with Shifang, the topics between the three women were almost endless. Lu Jingyi was actually a fan of Lu Chen and Chen Fei. Not only had she watched the movie A Chinese Ghost Story starring the two, but she also watched the two TV series, Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance. She was also watching You from the Star. Although Mrs. Lu was in her 40s this year, she was no different from an ordinary fan when it came to talking about TV series. Meanwhile, Lu Gangxing pulled Lu Chen aside and told him about the Xiangjiang New Voice that had been in preparation for more than half a year. Xiangjiang New Voice was a singing talent show conceived by Lu Chen and many people in the Xiangjiang circle, including Lu Gangxing, when he was developing in Xiangjiang last year. The aim was to encourage and support Xiangjiang's local original music, so that Cantonese songs could regain their glory. The show was proposed by Madame Jean, and the name was thought up by Lu Chen, but the real promoter was Lu Gangxing. It was precisely because of his active participation that ATV and Xiangjiang Satellite TV were competing for the production and broadcasting rights of the show. After a fierce competition, Xiangjiang satellite TV had the last laugh. The higher-ups of the satellite TV attached great importance to the talent show. They came up with 3 program plans and did a lot of market research. Everything was basically ready now, except for the final push. Originally, Xiangjiang New Voice was planning to start the auditions in September. However, the appearance of The Voice of China and its huge influence made the satellite TV revise their plans. Lu Gangxing said frankly to Lu Chen, "Your The Voice of China is too outstanding. The people at the satellite TV are very stressed. My goal is to make Xiangjiang New Voice the most influential music show in the history of Xiangjiang." They have revised the program plan at least a dozen times. As he said that, Lu Gangxing laughed, "So, you must participate in this show." Lu Chen readily agreed, "No problem." He was so straightforward that Lu Gangxing felt a little embarrassed. "You don't have to agree so quickly. Let's talk about when you have a schedule first. Will it be available in March or April next year?" As a Xiangjiang heavenly king, Lu Gangxing knew very well that with Lu Chen's current popularity in the country, his schedule would definitely be full. Under normal circumstances, not to mention this year, it would be normal for him to have a full schedule next year. He really hoped that Lu Chen would join, but he would definitely not disrupt Lu Chen's work plans. Lu Chen thought about it and replied, "It should be fine in April. I'll confirm the time when I go back." You from the Star was coming to an end. Next, he would be filming The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. It would definitely be finished by April next year. Otherwise, even if it was post-production, it would not be able to make it in time for the summer. Lu Gangxing was very happy. "That's really great. Xiangjiang is really lacking in original music now. I hope that through this show, those outstanding talents can stand out." Lu Chen nodded. Seeing the heavenly king's happy look, he was quite touched. At Lu Gangxing's level, fame and fortune were fleeting. What he really had was the passion and sincerity for his career. He was willing to do his best to repay society and the industry. This true love was worth learning from for Lu Chen. Chapter 744. Lu Gangxing was a senior in the entertainment circle, and Lu Chen was a rising star. Their appreciation and respect for each other made them real friends, and the cooperation between friends was always pleasant and satisfying. Lu Chen agreed to be a judge of Hong Kong New Voice, and he would write a promotional theme song for this music talent show. He specially made time for the show in April and May of next year. In return, Lu Gangxing volunteered to play a role in The Smiling, The Proud Swordsman, which would be filmed at the end of the year. Because of the success model of a Chinese ghost story, which had a box office of more than 1 billion yuan, after Chinfei Media revealed that it would adapt the film of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, there were countless entertainment agencies and artists who came to seek cooperation. It was not easy for other artists to get a role in The Smiling, The Proud Swordsman, even if they owed a favor. But for Lu Gangxing, asking for a role was like giving a favor to others. With the participation of this famous king in the Chinese circle, The Smiling, The Proud Swordsman would not only have a strong box office in China and Hong Kong, but also in the whole Southeast Asia. "I hope there will be enough fighting scenes for this role." Lu Gangxing excitedly made a few gestures with his fists. "It is what foreigners call Chinese kung fu. I think you will put real kung fu into this movie, right?" The term Chinese kung fu was coined by Lu Chen. Together with his fighting video in the UD 725 incident, it had already spread all over the world, including Hong Kong. In fact, Hong Kong had also made martial arts fighting movies in the 70s and 80s, but it was not popular, and was later replaced by Hollywood action movies. However, there was a market for traditional martial arts in Hong Kong. As early as a few decades ago, there were many martial arts clubs in Hong Kong. They taught their apprentices martial arts such as Southern Fist and Northern Leg, knife, spear, sword, rod, and so on. But now, these martial arts clubs were basically replaced by taekwondo, judo, boxing, and kickboxing clubs. Traditional kung fu was no longer popular among young people because it was called fancy but not practical. The same situation happened in the mainland. On the other hand, the Chinese kung fu that Lu Chen had demonstrated to the world made everyone's eyes light up. Not only was it extremely powerful in actual combat, but its movements were also swift and fierce, and it had a powerful sense of violence. Lu Gangxing could see the role that China Kung Fu could play in the movie at first glance. He believed that Lu Chen would definitely bring China Kung Fu into the movie when he made the smiling, the proud wanderer. In fact, the embryonic form of Kung Fu could already be seen in a Chinese ghost story, but it was covered up by the more exciting supernatural stories and special magic effects. The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was a pure wuxia movie. Lu Gangxing didn't just want to show his face in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. He wanted to take this opportunity to explore new ways of acting and create a different image. Yes, Lu Chen instantly understood Lu Gangxing's thoughts and intentions. His eyes couldn't help but light up. Brother Sheng, there are many roles you can choose from. However, I'm afraid you'll need to undergo a period of training. Wuxia Kung Fu movies couldn't be made just because one wanted to. Even if one wanted to use a martial arts substitute, one must first master some basic routines. Otherwise, the movie would be very problematic. Lu Gangxing smiled, that's not a problem. I usually exercise, so I'm not afraid of hardships. Practicing martial arts was very tiring and torturous, especially if one wanted to master real skills. It was obviously impossible without hard work. Lu Gangxing undoubtedly wanted to challenge himself. Although he was already over 50 years old. The more they talked, the more the topic gradually shifted to The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. This movie, which was adapted from a best-selling wuxia novel, was undoubtedly a huge challenge for Lu Chen, because he didn't want to shoot it according to the movie of the same name in his memory. Instead, he wanted to rewrite the script and make a real wuxia blockbuster. At that time, Lu Chen would be the leading actor, the screenwriter, the composer, and the action director. Any mistake in any aspect would affect the shooting of the movie. Interestingly, Lu Gangxing had actually read The Smiling, Proud Wanderer and was very familiar with the characters in it. He was completely prepared. Lu Chen couldn't help asking, Brother Sheng, if you had a choice, which one would you choose? Originally, Lu Chen wanted to write the script and give it to Lu Gangxing for him to choose the roles. Now that he knew that Lu Gangxing had read the original novel, he simply brought it up. Lu Gangxing thought for a moment and answered, Lu Jingfeng and Xiang Wendian. Lu Jingfeng and Xiang Wendian? Lu Chen silently chewed on these two names, and a faint idea formed in his heart. What are you two talking about? At this time, Lu Jingyi and Chen Fei came hand in hand. They were smiling like a pair of beautiful sisters. Lu Gangxing and Lu Chen looked at each other and smiled. Lu Chen said, I'm talking about the movie with Brother Sheng. Where are we going for lunch? Chen Fei smiled and said, Sister Shifang will cook for lunch, and Sister Jingyi will also make a few dishes. I'll go and help. You two can continue talking. I'll call you when we're at the table. Lu Gangxing clapped his hands and said, I haven't eaten Linda's dishes for a long time. I'm so lucky today. Linda was Shifang's English name. Shifang's cooking skills had been passed down in her family. She had even appeared on TV before.